Everyone to the Tools of the Trade live stream. I'm your host, Captain Cole, and I'm joined by my co-host Trip, better known as Crypto ISO on Crypto Twitter. We got an awesome episode for you guys today, but lots to talk about, lots to get into. But before I get started, would you please do me a favor, smash that like button, make us look good for the YouTube algo. Also want to take a quick second to thank our sponsor Phemex, one of the only non-KYC derivatives exchanges left in crypto. Click the link in the description below to get up to $6,000 in sign-up bonus. Now, the last thing I'll say before we get started here on Tools of the Trade, we are not financial advisors, and this information is for educational purposes only. Welcome, everyone, back for another episode of Tools of the Trade. Trip, my man, how's it going?
Good. Trying to digest all these headlines that just came out.
Lots to talk about today. Should be good, right?
Yeah, a lot. Interesting price action, a lot of things going on behind the scenes people are trying to figure out. And we have a very exciting guest on, so get right into it.
Be good. Yeah, without further ado, I think this man needs no introduction. The Giga Chad himself, Nick. How's it going, Big Wick Nick?
What's up, boys? How are you guys?
We're good, man. Well. Yourself?
No, I'm doing good, Happy to be here finally. It's been a long time coming.
It has. We think we talked about this about, like a month ago to get you on, and
yeah, we did.
Finally here. Should be a very good episode.
I think even longer, actually. It's been like a couple months now.
So. You're right. I think it was April I asked you to come on before.
There was no way you guys were doing this before your like 3-week takeover Europe Giga Chad.
Yeah, we couldn't do it before.
Yeah.
And then I was gone for like almost 2 months. So,
I mean, that's what you're supposed to do in the summertime.
Yeah, for real.
You managed to trade a good amount from your phone, though.
It's kind of funny. I don't really know how I accomplished all that. I think my main takeaway from the summertime was just like having my setups and waiting for them to take place, and then just taking the trades, setting stops, setting TPs, and just screwing off and going and partying.
Nutsack trading. I love it. So before we get into all this, Nick, let's kind of take a step back for people who don't know you. Who is Big Wick Nick? How did you get into crypto? Give us a little bit of your backstory on both crypto and trading, and then we'll kind of move on from there.
Yeah. So, I got out of school, started working in investment banking, and then went straight into private equity. Did that for like 5 years, started a couple companies, and then sold one of the companies I started to a public traded company in 2018. And that kind of gave me my early capital stack. But a couple years before that, in 2015, when I was working at the private equity fund, a Bitcoin mining operation came to us and said, "Hey, we want to raise like $20-30 million. Can you help us either A, raise the money, or B, will you invest in us?" So we did the due diligence. The fund that I was working for was actually it was not an agnostic fund, so we weren't investing in anything unrelated to our main like core industry. But the team educated us. I learned a lot about crypto, a lot about Bitcoin itself. We didn't end up investing in the team because it just didn't check our boxes or our criteria. But after that, I went and bought Bitcoin in 2015. So, I mean, I was pretty young at the time, so it wasn't enough money. But a couple years later, in 2018, after I sold my company, I was able to rotate a lot of that capital into crypto, into Bitcoin, into ETH. Rode out the bear market in 2018, started trading on Phemex. And then after that, after fully pivoting from my other industry that I was working in, I went to go work for a hedge fund in Florida that was only trading crypto. And, I was there for a decent amount of time. And then I was there through the bull market and then through the bear market last year. And then about like halfway through the summer, I decided to leave and start my own fund. So I started my own fund last year. I've been aggressively raising capital for that fund. We're up like 54% on the year, which is pretty good considering we're only investing in spot. We don't do I don't do a crazy amount of perp trading in terms of like allocation on the fund relative to the size of the fund. Just because I want to like make sure that I don't like the whole thesis of the fund was this. It was like raise as much capital during the bear market as possible, right? When asset prices are suppressed, and then intelligently allocate that capital when I think the bottom's in. And then, when I think the bottom's actually, and then start like loading up on perps and like loading up on some leverage plays, some options and stuff like that. I didn't want to like aggressively raise or deploy capital during the bull market because that's when you should be kind of scaling out of certain spot positions or rotating and stuff like that. So I think that I think the thesis is pretty strong and that it made the most sense to do that. So that's basically what I've been doing for the last the fund officially started a year ago in about 8 days. So I'm almost at my 1 year anniversary of the fund. I raised like high 7 figures. Now we're an 8-figure fund, and I'm like really, really excited for the future. So that's kind of like a little bit about me. Yeah.
Awesome, dude. I think that's, first of all, congratulations to that, right? It takes a lot of effort to kind of raise a fund. I think Trip and I talked about this, I think a year and a half ago, right? I think it was our buddy's Tetris Capital Trip who like did very similar in 2018, bought during the bear market. And then unfortunately they ended up blowing up. But, the thesis was the same. Allocate at the bottom, ride spot, take your management fee and chill. But yeah, it's good to have you, man. You and I have become great friends over the last several months. And now you're here finally. So Nick, let's kind of pivot now to crypto since we have you on. Let's talk Bitcoin, brother.
Sure.
Share your screen with us and let's see what you got going on there.
Sure. I mean, I've been using this like particular chart for it's been like
all of 2023,
all the entire year. We've just been trading. As soon as we like reclaimed this level and then deviated below and reclaimed before the summertime or like in June, like I've just been using this chart the whole time. And like for the most part, the levels have been pretty much respected. So like, what do you want to talk about in terms of Bitcoin? Z? Like,
let's talk about just like general takes, right? So let's do a high level overview, and then we can kind of get more low time frame where we're headed next.
Sure. I mean, I think a lot of people know on Twitter I've been pretty bullish for the most part. Been looking for like a sweep below and then ascend to maybe like 37K, 35K, 33K. I mean, we'll get to those levels when we get there, but I think like long term, like I think that it would make sense to at least have an underside retest of this level right here, like the May of last year when we broke down after like the whole Terra Luna fiasco and then into FTX, but like how do we get there is like the question, right? And like as we know, like this market's super liquidity driven, and the market always looks its worst before it turns around and starts setting higher. Like literally the other day, this whole weekend, I was like position long, just like waiting. Thinking that we'd squeeze a little bit higher, like to actually like to this level. And, they sent the market down a little bit lower. And I was waiting for, a setup that you and I discussed, like 28.3, 27.5, around there. And it seems like they had front run it so far.
That's what it seemed like, unfortunately. We all got front run.
I think like if you see this right here, like this bottom part here, like I think a lot of people were expecting Bitcoin to break down and kind of like produce this pattern. And it looked like, from heading into it, it looked like we were going to do it. And the market looked so bad. There was no liquidity in the market at all. Like the spreads were pretty big. Bitcoin just looked like it wanted to die. And then, after
always when it looks the worst, right? And then it actually moves is when it looks the shittiest.
So currently, like my bias is like, I'm just holding spot at the moment. I'm not like short. I'm not long. I'm just holding spot. I trade mostly coin margin in my like my perp account. And I've been long on spot for my fund for pretty much the whole year. I bought like heavily, like 15, 16K spot. And then I'd taken perp trades like throughout all the ranges, but I've been holding spot this, pretty much this entire time. So like if I missed the move yesterday, it's not that big of a deal, but overall, I think that like if yesterday was the bottom, like, this like information, front run, BlackRock information is actually like going to come true. I think it's a very high potential. We just keep sending higher from here. A lot of people were like expecting lower. I saw a lot of tweets on Twitter. This one guy, Small News, shout out to Small News. He aggregates a lot of people's tweets, right? And he'll like compile them and like make a giant post saying, here's what all these different traders say. And like yesterday I was looking at it and it was like me, Ninja Scalp, like 52 skew, like a bunch of people, and everyone's like looking for lower. Like I think 9 out of 10 people are looking for like Bitcoin to go to like 27K, 28K. And when I saw that, I should have just market longed,
It's always like that, right? When everyone's looking for something, the opposite tends to happen, just the way things work, right?
The funny thing is, like yesterday, like I was looking at the chart, I came back to my computer, like ETH had just tapped 1800 and Bitcoin was at like 28.7. And I was like about to long it, but I was like, I'm just going to let my thesis play out. I'd hedged my portfolio. I was going to wait for lower. And it was Monday, so I was like, okay, maybe tomorrow they'll sweep the lows, and then that will be
Monday low sweep. Oh man, we were all looking for that, weren't we?
Yeah,
right?
we're all looking for it. Now it's just sending higher without all of us, But like that's just how the market goes. Like pish and shit, you can't really care. About it
so I want to kind of dive into that for a second. Can you break down to me, or kind of just give viewers your thought process when you miss a trade, in the sense like you planned for it, you had your levels marked out, it just got front run, right? Like how do you react? What is, from a trader's point of view? What do you do to react to missing a trade or having a front run?
Well, first of all, you need to like understand, like, okay, for me, for example, I saw the trade presenting itself, but I didn't do it because I thought it was going to sweep lower. And then I got busy with the phone call for like stuff I'm doing like outside of like my trading, So like what I do is like, I just wait, I mentally know that I have to, if I missed a trade, I don't want to like get mentally like upset. I don't want to get emotional about anything. I want to just sit there and wait. and like and take take more time to see what the price action actually is, and just give myself more like just more time to let the price action develop. Because sometimes like if you think you miss the move, sometimes you think you missed the move, you get in a little bit higher, and then ends up puking on you, right? So like I wanted to kind of just wait and like just wait and see what the market wanted to do. And then after that, I say, okay, well, if I'm pretty much I'm a big trend trader, right? I'm a trend trader. I'm a range trader. I understand like, okay, if I missed a trade here, if I want to get back on board, right? Like what level does Bitcoin need to reclaim for it to be bullish, right? And that level here is like coming up pretty soon for me. It's like really 30K, like 30.3K, 30K.
Okay.
If we could SFP 30.4 and retest and puke from there. But if we like reclaim 30.3 and we like hold and price action looks like it's getting bullish again, and like it looks like the TWAP continues, and maybe I will consider like taking some longs to the range high. And for me, that's like 31K. And then after that, if it goes to 31K and staying bullish, maybe I would consider adding. Or it just depends on context. Sometimes I'll just like take a scalp, let it hit my target. I'll reduce a little bit and set a stop. And then if it comes back to my stop and sauce me out, then so be it. But, like I don't try. I think it's important for everyone to understand that it's not important to catch every single move. It's more important to like wait for like the right setup that you have high conviction in, and then take it for the right reasons versus like, oh, I missed the trade. Let me FOMO or even worse, like let me revenge short. And I feel like a lot of people probably did that today. They all missed the bottom yesterday. And they're like mentally conditioned to like short, from the weekend and the price action last week, they're like mentally conditioned to like short like 29.4, 29.5. And they start
it's
shorting.
all lower highs, right? Like right up until here. Like I'm looking at your chart right now, like we're about to break that market structure, right?
It's been up only for the whole day, and this like screams like at least wants to squeeze a little bit higher, at least one more time. Before like potential market structure break on the low time frame. But like for me, it's like super important to not get emotional. Oh my God, I missed a trade. Like, fuck me. I'm going to just start shorting it because I think the market's wrong and I want to impose my will on the market. Like, no, don't do that. Just wait. I'd rather be spot long and price go against me and come down and then me get a better entry versus trying to short and getting squeezed and losing margin. You know what I mean? So
I agree with that. Yeah. So just on that topic, I'm looking at this now as the weekly kind of is forming. It's Tuesday. Last Sunday, or was it Sunday 2 days ago, this edge to edge became active. We closed in the cloud. We didn't fall out of the cloud as I initially had thought. My system says you're supposed to long this, but of course I faded my own system, right? So on this close, that would have been the entry. So it closed at 29K basically. So by edge to edge standards, for those who don't know, this is my trending system. It's one of my most successful systems. It's called the edge to edge trade. It's when the blue line is above the yellow line, price closes in the cloud, and last but not least, you have this Chiku span, which is essentially price plotted back 30 periods, is above the previous price. So this line has to be above this price. So we have all the prerequisites for an edge to edge, right? Now, the issue here I have is that, okay, so what does this setup actually look like? So first things first is the stop loss goes below the cloud, which is technically at 24.7 right here. And then the upside right here is the top edge of the cloud at 42K. So it's a nice 3.2 risk reward. The setup technically got triggered on Sunday, yet I faded it. And I'm not long right now. I am on the sidelines from a Bitcoin short that I got stopped out at 29.3. But this right now, to me, like this is all you need for an edge to edge to be valid. So now I'm looking at this, looking at you, Nick, looking at you, Trip, and like seeing you guys talk about the market and stuff. I'm not going to FOMO. I'm going to wait for my setup. I know that the weekly open is 29K. I'm not saying we're going to go back there, but I think once we dial it into the lower time frames, at least on the daily, right, we look at like where have we been the past range. We've been in this 29.5 to 28.8 range. So the range high is 29.5. So if I'm sidelined as a trader and I'm looking to get possibly a part of this trend that you just mentioned, are we going to 35K, 34K, or as high as 42K as the edge to edge suggests? I'm looking for an SR flip. So I think most likely 29.5 retest or something close to that is going to be what I'm looking for to actually get long. So maybe somewhere in this block, call it, let's see if I can find it. There it is. Somewhere in this block potentially, which would line up with the hourly Kijun. So the hourly Kijun is mean reversion from the bottom at 26.8 to wherever we put in a high. I'm not saying this is the high here, although we're probably going to squeeze slightly higher. But wherever this Kijun bottoms out, I think it'll eventually drift up to 29.5. That's where I'd be looking for long. So I agree with you guys. I think
I agree.
we are bullish. We did get front run. It is what it is. That's part of trading. Now it's like, how do we adapt, right? What's going to be the next high beta play? Okay, you missed the long. Okay, where do you get in? That's what I think we should be discussing moving forward.